this is hardcore information from a true Illuminati. Indeed, you are part of the true Illuminati family. I am wrong. How it changes the abuse, how it changes the exploitation of ignorance of people in some places on the left-hand path current, not only all left-hand path or all right-hand path. How this book can open the eye just for reading for the common reader. Someone buy this book. What they find out, they don't know nothing, a clue about magic. What they will find out here.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have to be really honest. I don't think, this book is not for, a simple person. This is one of the highest, most advanced, most esoteric Kabbalistic books ever. And as such, this book is intended for very, very advanced Kabbalistic, initiates and adepts. That's why I said, before that practically anyone who buys this book is not going to fully understand the book. Even if you're highly initiated, at best, you're only going to understand some of the book. Now, I want to talk about what you said earlier in revolutionizing the left-hand path, because that's actually part of my mission, is to clarify and revolutionize what truly is the left-hand path. Now, when you get to the highest levels of Luciferianism, okay, what happens is that many of the highest, most powerful Luciferians would term themselves as Gnostics, okay? Now, we have a big problem there because ancient Gnosticism is something that is not fully understood. Even the scholars for the past 100 years do not have a full understanding of Gnosticism, because Gnosticism is where the highest gnosis comes into play. Think of the Essenes, okay? What a lot of people don't know and understand is that the Essenes were the highest and purest of Gnostics, okay? Yeah. And so was Jesus, okay? So I am the highest Gnostic, okay, in this last generation, okay? I have the full gnosis. And again, for the past 2,000 years, no one has really had this full gnosis other than a handful of people, okay? And so the problem is that the scholars don't have it, neither do the Luciferians, okay? Now, the Luciferians, generally speaking, the highest Luciferians, they have IQs, okay, or intelligent quotients that are very high. They have SQs, what I like to call an SQ, which is a spiritual quotient, that are very high, okay? When you're talking about the highest, most powerful Luciferians, you are talking about some of the most spiritual and smartest people out there, okay? But yeah, as smart and as spiritual as they may be, they don't have the full gnosis when it comes to Gnosticism, okay? So I'm going to clarify this here. What I'm going to do in the show, because I have blog posts and in my books I have clarified this, but for those, if there's any goyim that are listening or watching, or anyone who considers himself a magician or occultist, which more than likely they're probably very profane, okay? I'm going to clarify this, okay? Because I think this is very important, okay? When we are talking about the highest levels of Luciferianism, right, what it comes down to at its core is that they believe that the God of the Old Testament, that he's evil, okay, and that he's very bad, and that Satan is the good guy. The devil is the good guy, and the God of the Old Testament is the bad guy, okay? So based on this understanding, then they say, okay, I'm not going to be holy. I'm going to be evil. I'm going to have orgies. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to kill people. I'm going to do a lot of evil like the devil, because that's what the devil's known for, okay? That's the core understanding of Luciferianism in its purest essence and form, okay? Now, this is where the stupidity and ignorance, I'm not going to reveal to you the great stupidity and ignorance here, okay? Now, the Christians will teach you that the serpent in the Garden of Eden, he was very wise. He's very wise, very intelligent. This is true. The serpent is very wise. Okay, and the Luciferians, they deal with the evil serpent. Okay, everybody knows about the evil serpent. If you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, you know about the evil serpent. But what they don't know is that there's two serpents. There's a holy serpent and there's an evil serpent. And the Luciferians work with the evil serpent, and the evil serpent is very clever. What he told them, the evil serpent told them part of the truth. Part of the truth is that, yes, it is correct. The God of the Old Testament is evil. The God of the Old Testament is evil, and he's a fool. He's what we call the demiurge, okay? And the devil, or Satan, which you would call the serpent, he's the good guy. That's also true, but that's when you're talking about the holy serpent, because there's two serpents. There's an evil serpent and a holy serpent. There's a holy devil, if we can call it that, and there's an evil devil, okay? And so then the Luciferians, they perverted and corrupted this because they only have part of the truth, but they don't have the full truth, right? This is what I'm always talking about, is you need to have the full truth. If you just have part of the truth, then it becomes very easy to deceive you and to go astray. So we don't worship the God of the Old Testament because the God of the Old Testament is evil and bad, but we worship the holy serpent. We worship the holy God who is above all gods. And this God is very holy, and we are commanded to be very holy like him.
Some rabbi in the past told me, one who spoke and put out Adam and Eve in the text of Genesis outside the garden is one entity, let's say Samael Yaldabaoth or the Demiurge or the Greek architect, and who protect from malediction to Cain was Lucifer, were not the same God who were speaking in certain parts of Genesis at the same time. It's not always Yahweh speaking, the versicle of the Bible. Is it correct?
Well, yeah, as I stated, right? If we're going to talk about the most esoteric levels of that,
Yeah.
and the most esoteric levels are at the Gnostic level, then yes, right? When it says Yod He Vav He in the text, right? That's the demiurge. That's Yaldabaoth, the evil demiurge. Okay, the serpent is holy. Now we have to understand that there are multiple levels at play, right? When we read the Bible, what people don't understand is that there are multiple levels at play, right? So the first level is the literal level, right? We can say, okay, Yod He Vav He is good, the serpent is bad. That's okay. That's an acceptable interpretation. We accept that. There's a certain level of understanding to that. That's fine. But there's also an esoteric level at play, a very, very esoteric level at play. And that is when the tables turn and everything is switched. And now Yod He Vav He is the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, and the serpent is the good guy, the Mashiach, who is holy. Okay? So there's different levels at play. Each level has its own understanding, so to speak, you know?
So the serpent that climbs through the tree is the holy serpent that comes and goes according to the evolution of all that is. And at the same time, we have a householder or an architect who controls us in the matter. So this is the evil demiurge, which has two heads too. So to speak, let you know that the audience will see this video as atomic knowledge, because you are presenting things in so radical way that many minds will blow out with this video.
Sure, and let me just add to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard to explain these very lofty, sublime matters in just a few minutes, right? If you get the principal Kabbalistic texts like the Zohar, the Tikkun HaZohar, you study them. You study all of the books of the Nag Hammadi library. You buy all of my books and study them. You go to my blog and you read all my posts. Then you can start to understand, because I explain these things in much greater detail in my writings, whether it's my blog or my books. These things are much more they are more loosely explained in larger, greater detail in my books and in my writings. It's a little difficult to try to expose and reveal these secrets in a few minutes, here, but I'm doing the best that I can,
So to speak, if several deities seems to be always God, but maybe it's one head speaking and another head speaking, despite the Zohar is the binary code behind the poetry of the Torah, am I right? Secondly, certain parts of the poetry that humankind in general understands as poetry is someone speaking, and maybe in the next versicle is another Godhead speaking. There's a Kabbalistic background or framework that is behind the words that implies there's other secrets. So how do you see the future of magic and Kabbalah towards everyone on the planet? How do you see such future?
So I think it's very important for everyone listening to understand that this is the last generation. We are in the last generation. Jesus prophesied what was going to happen in the last days, in the last generation. And there are other prophets that have come and also prophesied of what is going to happen in the last generation. And if you know of these prophets, you read the New Testament, then it should be clear to anyone who has eyes to see and is very spiritual, all of the proofs around us that this is the last generation. We are in the last days. Okay. Now, because of who I am, I know when the end is going to happen. I know when the Mashiach is going to come back. I cannot reveal a lot of the future because it's very secret. I'm not allowed to. But what I can tell you is that this is the last generation.
Balak, are you there? You solved the problem?
Yeah, sure. That conversation was intense. No.
Okay. It's a
Rob,
time. More questions.
yeah, I have a question. We already talked about magicians, Satanists, etc. But what do you think about Freemasonry and the incorporation of Jewish traditions into the methods of study?
Sure. So we have to understand that almost behind every secret society, there was a hidden Jewish grandmaster behind it. Okay. Now, if you're very, very high up in the occult, you understand this very well. I'll give you a few examples. Okay. Let's talk about the Golden Dawn, for example. The Golden Dawn is it's considered one of the most famous elite secret societies, right? That was started in Britain. But many people don't know the true origins of the Golden Dawn, right? If you didn't know any better, you would think it was started by, Marshall Mathers or some goy. Actually, the origins of the Golden Dawn begin with the Mashiach that I follow, HaMashiach Jacob Frank, because the highest disciples of him are the ones that started the Golden Dawn. It was a Jewish grandmaster that was behind the Golden Dawn, and there are documents. I mean, there's if you're very high up in the occult, there are certain documents that have been circulating that prove and show this. The same thing with Freemasonry. The reason that there is so much, the reason why there's such a great large Jewish foundation to Freemasonry is because it was started by a Jewish grandmaster. They all were, and this great secret is hinted at in certain writings from a few hundred years ago. I'm trying to remember. I can't think of the name. I wish I could think of them. I can't remember. But there are some very famous writings between a very famous German, can't remember his name, where a Jewish grandmaster approaches him and basically hints to him that, listen, it's the Jewish grandmasters that run and control everything, and that created the secret society, so to speak. I mean, that's the great secret, right? And it's all over the Bible. Right, one of the biggest hints, right? If you read, like, just take for example the story of in the book of Daniel, right? Daniel is the chief magician of Babylon, and he's at the right hand of King Nebuchadnezzar, which is the largest, most powerful nation in the whole world. And who is the second highest, most important, powerful person in the greatest, most powerful kingdom in that generation? It was Daniel, the prophet, who was the chief magician of Babylon. Or even if you talk about ancient Egypt, who was the second most important, most powerful person in command? It was Joseph, who sat at the right hand of Pharaoh. And even though the Bible says that they sat at the right hand, let's be honest here. Let's talk the truth here. For all intents and purposes, they were running the whole show. They were running the whole kingdom. Now, are you stupid and foolish enough to think that this has stopped? That at some point this just stopped? You don't think that the second most powerful person in the most powerful country in the world right now is a Jew? I can tell you that it is. The Jews have always run the world and will always run the world. It's in the Bible. If you are intelligent and spiritual enough to understand the Bible, that's what the Bible is all about. That's what the Bible tells you. The Bible is the biggest hint. Wink, wink, hint, hint. The Jews run the world.
What a silence. Everybody's listening.
And I understand perfectly.
The next question, because was pretty enough information. The people's minds will blow out with this video. And I'm happy to be here talking to you, Mr. Babylon. I will make an interstice for commercial ads that we have in the channel, and we are gonna go back.
Ayer María, Asunción, Buenos Aires.
Okay, let's continue with the speaking. Balak, shoot your questions. It's all up to you now. Let me rest a bit. I'm so happy to listen to Chief magician of Mr. Babylon. You are in United States of America right now, or you are in Israel? If you can let us know.
I'm in the US currently.
Rab, the birth of evil was in the Ein Sof or in Geburah, and why?
So this is a very, very deep, profound question that you ask. It's so profound, it's so deep that but then you're probably going to, people are going to wonder and ask, okay, why? What are the proofs, right? For that, you're going to have to purchase my books, follow my teachings to know. But there are two levels. Yes, evil is rooted in Geburah, and it is also rooted in Ein Sof. Absolutely, it is rooted in both.
So the split between the thoughtless and the thoughtful light, to put a term, begins in Ein Sof. This is the moment of the initiation of the conflict between the two lights, one to go back to the source, another one to continue creating, something like this.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's what you're saying, it's a nasty, gross oversimplification.
Yeah, it's an oversimplification, of course. I'm using the most easiest, maybe profound words to explain something so high. I know.
Of course.
I'm trying to make it easy peasy for some people. I'm trying to be kind to the hard neck of the people who is subscribed to this channel. So
sure, I understand.
Sorry for my oversimplification.
No worries.
It's okay. I'm a machine of oversimplification.
I totally understand. No worries.
Okay, Balak.
How many levels of power or existence does Lucifer have? Or at least as many as you can tell.
Okay, so let's get some clarification here. Okay, earlier I spoke about the evil demiurge, right? Because many of them think as Lucifer as a one-dimensional being. The reality is the image and the name Lucifer has been corrupted and tarnished over the past 2,000 years, okay? But if you're highly initiated and you know what we're talking about when we talk about Lucifer, it's important to understand that Lucifer is a multi-dimensional being. And there are many Lucifers and many levels to Lucifer. One of the highest and most critical aspects or levels of Lucifer that I can reveal is the demiurge. The God that created the entire universe, okay, is Lucifer. He's the demiurge, and he's evil and he's bad, okay? But there are higher levels to Lucifer. It's a multi-dimensional being with many, many levels, many layers and levels of existence, okay? But this is a very, very secret matter that, again, is only known and understood by very few people. For the purposes of your listeners, it's important to know and understand that the demiurge, the God that runs this world, the God that created this world and the whole universe, that is Lucifer, and he's bad and he's very evil. Yaldabaoth and Yaldabaoth as Lucifer is just so Yaldabaoth, who was Lucifer, is just one dimension of Lucifer.
Exactly.
Very, very secret higher levels of Lucifer that I can't talk about or reveal here, okay? But all you need to know, the Christians are correct when they teach that Lucifer is the God of this world and that he's bad and that he's evil, okay? That's correct. What they don't know, what they don't understand is that they don't understand how high and how powerful he is. They teach and think that he's a cherub. Utter stupidity. He is not a cherub. Lucifer is not a cherub. No. Okay, and they don't even know that Lucifer created the whole universe. Lucifer created the whole entire universe. You have no idea what type of God this is, what type of God you're dealing with here, okay?
As a descendant of King David, what is your relationship with him, with Lucifer?
This is a very deep, profound question, right? Because earlier you asked about evil. What is the root of evil, right? At the highest levels of gnosis or Gnosticism, right, we understand evil. For example, the Christians teach we're at war with the devil. We're at war against evil. To a degree, we can say that's true, but in reality, it's just an illusion. First of all, I worship the holy, concealed, secret Lucifer, okay? But I do not worship the evil Lucifer. But the evil Lucifer, I don't see it as I understand that he's evil, he's foolish, but we understand that he's on the payroll of God. Okay, all of the gods work for the highest God. They're on his payroll. Lucifer is on his payroll. Okay. And I think a lot of Christians don't understand this. They're very ignorant and they don't understand he's on God's payroll. He works for God. Everything he is doing is for God. Right. So when you understand this, then it breaks down the illusion and you have a much more fuller, real understanding of what's really going on. You know, to me, Lucifer is a trainer. He trains me. The evil Lucifer is like my trainer, my personal trainer who spiritually trains me. It's not somebody that I'm at war against or warring, with. It may seem like that many times, but you have to break down the illusion. You have to see past the illusion and transcend reality, so to speak. I might not even be properly explaining it sometimes, I feel, so I'm trying to do the best that I can.
The diagram that we all know of the tree of life is the best way to represent the Sephiroth?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And because you're interviewing me and because of who I am, I'm going to tell and reveal something here that has never been revealed before, ever, publicly. And it is this. And it's to expose the stupidity and ignorance of the Goyim and the occultists, right? A lot of them, they think, oh, Kabbalah is from the Jews are the chosen race. So they study Kabbalah because they think there's a lot of power in Kabbalah. And there is. But they're not fluent in Hebrew. They're not fluent in Aramaic. They haven't gone the proper training, nor are they fully initiated. Okay, so there's a lot of ignorance and stupidity when it comes to Kabbalah in the occult world. Okay, because most of the occult world is very profane, impure, and unholy, and ignorant. Okay, as I'm always saying. Okay, and so this is where their stupidity comes into play. Okay, let's say they're studying the Kabbalah and they see the diagram, okay, of this Sephiroth. Okay, this is why they're so ignorant and dumb and they don't understand. Do you really think? You need to think. This is one of the problems that we have in this last generation is that people don't think critically. There's no critical thinking. The skill of critical thinking doesn't really exist anymore. Do you really think that the highest Jewish grandmasters fully revealed all of the Kabbalah? I got news for you. They didn't. They did not reveal all of the Kabbalah, number one. All of the knowledge, all of the wisdom, all of the power, they did not give it. They did not reveal it. Moreover, if you're really intelligent, you will understand that they purposefully put errors in the Kabbalah that they did reveal and disseminate. There is a mirror image between the holy domain and the Qliphothic domain. When you get very deep in the occult world, you start dealing with grimoires of black magic. What happens? What do the most powerful black magicians that control and run this world, what do? Do you think that they give you the full knowledge and power in those grimoires? They booby trap them. They purposefully put errors in them. There are many occultists that know this. Look at Aleister Crowley. He's one of the most powerful black magicians. Did he give the full gnosis and power of black magic in his writings? No. You know how many stupid retarded occultists have stories of like, oh, I was practicing, I was working with the grimoire of Aleister Crowley and it blew up in my face. Idiot, retard. That's how freaking stupid they are. Okay, that's how freaking stupid they are. Okay, the same thing with the holy grandmasters. They purposefully put in errors in the Kabbalah, in the principal texts. Do you think that you're looking at the real true diagram of this Sephiroth? I would go as far as to say you have no critical thinking skills and you have to be pretty ignorant and dumb if you think you're looking at the true diagram. Okay. There are secret books. Listen, there are secret holy books.
Yeah.
Just like when you get very deep into the Luciferian domain, they have very secret, powerful books that only a handful of people work with. It's the same thing in the holy domain. There are secret books that only a few people have. I have those secret books. They'll never be revealed. These are the high secrets. They'll never be revealed. Okay, and I'm here to tell you for the first time. This is the first time it's ever been revealed. That's the diagram of the Sephiroth. There are errors in the most ancient secret books. There are errors. Do you know how many people know this and understand this? I'm like the only one in this last generation because of who I am. Oh, and by the way, I can prove it. I can prove all of this. I'm sworn to secrecy.
The truth is that they will never reveal everything. Just when we do some magical workings, we give a part to mankind, and the rest of secrets will keep secret until death, because it's a sacred things that you should deserve to reach to know. I think it's about deservance too. Or you are not ready to know this because you'll never reach that level to get the right to know this. And this is quite reasonable, I think.
It is, and very much is so, absolutely. So that's one of the highest, biggest revelations that I've probably ever revealed publicly here, is that, you know how many Jews don't know this? Everyone's ignorant. Everyone thinks they're looking at the correct true diagram in this world. It's mind-blowing. I mean, when you have the full gnosis, it's really mind-blowing when you see all the ignorance for what it is,
We are very happy to know someone like you. I know this is historic, was never did in a Spanish language. And I think maybe, I don't know how much people you talk publicly this way. So we are really grateful with you. So I have a question that maybe cannot be answered in small minutes. Can we consider the good Lucifer, the hyper multidimensional Lucifer, being part of the scenario of the contraction of the absolute, and indeed all that is, even Keter, even the three C's, Ein Sof, Aur, comes from that original spark that starts from the demarcation from the absolute, where he doesn't belong there.
I think I understand your question, and to answer it, yes. The great secret of what we would call the Holy Samael, his root goes all the way to Ein Sof, absolutely.
Okay, we call it Samael Prime, the first in our unified doctrine. So we have an agreement considering Samael as the beginning of the demarcation of the consciousness that maybe brings like the other in comparison with the absolute itself. And we don't know if it is only the only Sinsum. Maybe in the absolute there's plenty of iteration of contractions. We don't know.
No, absolutely. There are plenty. There is not just one Zim Zoom. Again, that's great ignorance, right? If you study the core advanced esoteric Lurianic texts, you will come to know there is not just one Zim Zoom. And as far as the Holy Samael is concerned, you need to understand there are many higher gods above him. Yes, his root is an Ein Sof, but again, we're dealing with such sublime, lofty esoteric matters. I can't fully explain everything, other than to say there are higher levels and gods above the Holy Samael. Well, but he is our intermediary. He is our core intermediary between us and the realms above him. So
we have an agreement. We vision from a true Illuminati. Indeed, you are part of the true Illuminati family. I am wrong.
Yeah, that is correct. I would consider, we don't use that word Illuminati, but yes, I'm definitely an illuminist of the highest order. There is no question about that.